Hey, welcome back to another episode of Caffeinated CX, where we talk about customer experience and stuff, all in a hyper caffeinated state. With me today is John Akhoian.
Hello, everyone.
So, John, let's just dive in. For the people who are maybe unfamiliar with you, can we get a really quick background?
Sure, yeah, I'm John Akhoian. I'm a co-founder of Rooter Hero Plumbing and Air. I've been in the plumbing industry since I was 17 in the trades, and we've started Rooter Hero back in 2010, 2011, and we've quickly grown to becoming the largest independently owned and operated residential plumbing company in the state of California. We basically And being the largest, by the way, we're only doing about the revenue of about 3.5% of the market potential. So it goes to show you, we're pretty much very fragmented type of industry.
Right. No, that's 100%. Full disclosure, John's my boss. So, but it's not why we're here. So, I have a few questions for you about customer experience, leadership, company culture. The pretty much what this podcast is about. And this is episode 154.
Wow, that's a
So,
lot of episodes.
yeah,
I
it
know I've
is.
been on a few.
Yep, yep. We've been on a couple of them. So, the first one, maybe more of a statement, but customer experience is a vital aspect of any business, right? So, how does your company prioritize and enhance the customer experience, especially in an industry like plumbing and HVAC, where emergencies can happen anytime?
Well, I mean, two things come to mind that we train our staff, and it's something called memorable experience and magic moments. And I know we're going to share an example of a magic moment we had in a memorable experience with a service call that I personally went on with one of our field managers and one of our technicians. And this was a while ago. I think it was several years, maybe it could have been 3, 4 years ago, pre-COVID. And we trained this thing called memorable experience, where we tell our technicians and plumbers to do something in addition to the service call that you're called out for. For example, like you see the trash cans that are sitting on the side of the curb and it's empty because trash day was that day and they picked it up. Roll the trash cans in and ask the client where they would like you to put the trash cans. I mean,
Right.
it's a nice gesture. You see a cabinet door that's loose or a handle that's loose on a cabinet door. Take a screwdriver and tighten it. Just do something other than what you're called for.
Right.
Give the customer more than what they're paying for. So that's what we call a memorable experience, where customers will remember us for the little things that we're doing, right? So that's one aspect of what we do. And I remember this call that I went on. We were on a 1 week training with Uncle Joe and his and we had our entire, like, we had a big amount of guys that went to this 1 week training. And I was ride sharing with one of the managers that was going to the call. And as we were driving back on, I think it was like a Wednesday or a Thursday, I don't remember, it was almost the last day of the class. And he got a phone call from a client that was asking for a proposal that we were supposed to send him. And as he was talking to him and said, yeah, I'll get it over to you. And this guy's name was Lee, so he's like, Lee, I'll get it over to you. And he started talking to him, and when he hung up, I said, hey, why don't we just, before we go to class, let's drop that proposal off to the client. You promised them that you would get it over to them within a day. Why don't we personally deliver it to them?
Right.
So he said, oh, that's great. So I said, go back and put the options together. Let's deliver it. Let's go over it with them. It's not going to take that long. We could do it in the morning on our way back to the class. And he said, perfect. Let's go ahead and do that. So meanwhile, because we do this thing called memorable experience, I decided, hey, we're going to drop this thing off early in the morning. Let's pick up some pastries and some coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll sit down and go over the proposal with the homeowner, and basically if they have any questions, we'll answer it, and then we'll just get on our way and go to the
Right.
training. So we ended up doing that. We went in early in the morning. We had some pastries in our hands, and knocked on the door, and the client's like, "Hey, can you just drop it through the mailbox?" And we're like, "Sure, we'd love to do that, but the pastry and coffee won't fit." And he's like, "Oh, okay, you guys brought some coffee. Let's just come through the side door and we can sit down and go over the proposal." So we did. We went through the side door, went into their kitchen, and we just sat down and went over the proposal. And as we're going over the proposal, I wasn't doing it. I was just observing it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a opportunity for a magic moment, and when I saw that opportunity for the magic moment,
Mm-hmm.
I actually, did what we train our people to do, and it just worked miracles. I mean, the
Right.
customer experience was elevated so much that the customer felt like there was nobody else that could do this job for them the way we can.
That's
And I'll
awesome.
give you a quick, version of how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Lee is our customer, and they live up in the Hollywood Hills, and they're in a very old house that's owned by the doctor, and the doctor is his partner, and the doctor has cancer and going through chemotherapy, and Lee is taking the doctor to his chemo treatments and coming back and having to deal with plumbing issues and all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
other issues on the house, and he's under a lot of stress. And
Right.
I noticed that Lee was just like kind of under a lot of stress, and he was explaining how his days are filled with doctor's appointments, and they're filled with like to-do lists on the house, and then
Mm-hmm.
worrying about how getting dinner and lunch and food and all of this stuff, and he was just
Right.
juggling a whole lot, and he was totally stressed out. And I took a moment and I said, "Hey Lee, I just want you to know that I am very inspired by seeing like everything you're doing for the doctor and the house. And if it was me and I was in the position of the doctor where I was sick and my wife was taking care of me, I said, I would like, this is exactly what I would want from my wife,
Mm-hmm.
or my partner to do that for me. And I'm really inspired by it. And I just want you to know that we're just here to help. That's
Right.
all.
Right.
We don't want to put any more stress on you. We just want to be able to solve your issues. And, I'm thankful and grateful for seeing this because it really inspires me.
Right.
And Lee just like was under so many, nobody ever recognized him for everything he was going through,
Mm-hmm.
and appreciate him for what he was going through. And when I did that, and when we had that conversation, and that was a magic moment,
Right.
and that magic moment exceeded his expectation of everything that was going on before that. And he ended up going with us to do all of his plumbing work. He actually wanted to, he's like, "I want you guys to start right away. I
Wow.
mean, I want to do this." And we had several options, and he picked one of the best options to
Mm-hmm.
solve all of his problems, because he said, "I don't want to deal with this."
Right.
And he said, "I'm like, and nobody's ever recognized me for everything I'm going through. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you guys to be my plumbing company."
That's awesome.
And that was a example of how we use what we train our staff to do
Mm-hmm.
when they're inside the home, using memorable experiences, magic moments, and all of that,
Right.
to
Right.
enhance customer experience
Yeah.
to another level.
No, 100%. I love that story. It's
Yeah.
because like I could just imagine how overwhelmed the guy felt with everything.
He was like, I was like totally shocked when he like broke up in tears. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
literally, he took a moment and just started bawling, and I was like, "Oh my God, this tension has been built up,"
Right.
and the guy just needed somebody to recognize that
Yeah.
he's going through a lot,
Right.
and we connect with that, and we understand that, and we're not here to put more weight on his shoulders. We're actually here to take some weight off his shoulders.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, all right. That was a great story. Fantastic answer.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Right.
And that's a real life story of a magic moment,
Definitely. It's hard to top that one. so, so my next segment on this is a strong company culture goes hand in hand with exceptional customer service, right? What values and principles have you instilled within the organization to create a positive company culture?
Great. Some of the values and principles that we've instilled at Rooter Hero is, I mean, I guess you could look at the story I said before about magic moments and memorable experiences. I mean, some of the principles that we have in this company is like, there's no job, like that's too much for somebody to do. And I'll give you an example of that. I mean, there was a time where we brought in a recruiter, to our company, and I knew him because, he's a person that we worked with in the past. I mean, he used to run another company sold, and came in to help us. And I was in the kitchen one day, and like he asked me a question. It's like, hey, who does the dishes and takes out the trash here? And I'm like, we all do. And he goes, oh, okay. And he goes, I didn't know that. And and I just went in there, and I mean, there was some dishes in the thing, and I just started washing it, and it took me like 3 minutes to clean up the kitchen and take the trash. And he's like, oh, that's pretty cool. So there's nobody that's assigned for that. We just all like pitch in and help. And I'm like, yeah, that's just the way it goes. And we encourage leadership in our company to lead by example. That's kind of what builds the company culture. Is like, if people are willing, seeing their superiors rolling up their sleeves and doing things that
Right.
that are supposed to be just done, then they're willing to do it themselves. There's like nobody that feels entitled to, hey, I don't do that. That's not part of my job description. And our job
Yeah.
description is just to like take care of business. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
you know
Like, well, one of the things that make me cringe more than anything is when someone says that's not my job.
yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, all right, go back over there then. Um, yeah, no, I stopped in Saturday morning because I had just dropped my wife off at the airport because she went to Texas for some concert thing, and like stopped in, noticed that like there were like 3 bags of trash that had been left by the cleaning crew the night before,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
You
So
forgot to take it out.
yeah, it happens. I do it at home all the time.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, okay. When I left, I just took it with me. No big deal. It's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, no,
Yeah, you're
everyone's
going
in it together.
downstairs anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I that happened to me on the weekend as well. I came in, on a Sunday to drop off some paperwork and pick up some stuff because I, try to get caught up with just planning the week. And I noticed that there was a couple of trash bags in the kitchen. So I'm like, hey, I'm going down. I grabbed it. I was taking it down, and one of the guys in the call center are like, hey, I was going to take that. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. It's just, I'm going there that way anyway. I might
Yeah.
as well just,
No.
drop it off on my way.
100%. So a little bit of a follow up. In the trades, skilled labor is essential, and as you know, like 7 people leave, 1 person comes in.
Yeah.
Right. Which is sad. But how do you attract and retain top talent in this field? And how does that impact the company culture?
Well, I mean, let's talk about retaining. Okay.
Mhm.
Part of retaining top talent is that we try to make minimal changes in things that are working. Yeah, for example, like, we have a lot of really good, top talented people that are in the company, and if we get a turnover, a lot of times our turnover is sort of in the bottom. I mean, and it has more to do with us. I think it has more to do with us on how we onboard them and how we, get them started in the organization, because
Right.
a lot of time, when expectations aren't met or you hire the wrong type of people that aren't going to work out, that's where the turnover happens.
Right.
But we try to make minimal changes, and if we do, we involve everybody in the changes that are coming and talk about what's not working and what is, by being very transparent about it.
Right.
I think that really helps on getting buy-in when you're making changes, because the reason why people leave is because of one of the main reasons is because of like the leadership. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
people don't leave companies, they leave their bosses.
Right.
They leave the organization because they feel like something is not correct, or they don't feel like they're being, appreciated, or whatever the case
Right.
is, right?
Right.
Um, so, we try to systematize a lot of that. I mean, obviously, we're not perfect. We're still working on it. I wish our turnover rate was way less than what it is now. But I do notice that in our divisions or departments that have really good leadership, there's very low turnover.
Right.
And the ones that have, which is sort of our problem, we have to fix that, is where we assigned a weak leader and somebody that really is not able to, build that department or division. We see a lot of turnover happen because it's
Right.
just like, you know, unmet expectations.
Right.
I guess.
Right. And some people should never have direct reports. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
So all right. So you're at the helm of a large and pretty successful organization. Can you share some leadership insights or strategies that have been crucial in your journey and in shaping the company?
Some leadership insights. One of them, insight or just a sort of analogy I heard is you've got to nail it before you scale it. I heard that out of a book I read with somebody I really know that's in the trades, and it really resonated with me. Is that if you want to scale a company, you got to figure out and systematize a lot of the ongoing functions, and you don't really have to make it perfect, but you have to have it in writing, and you have to have a system for everything. And if you do that and it's systematized, then people understand, and you could manage expectations
Right.
better. So that's basically something that we're working on every day, is nailing it, because we do know scaling it comes in after nailing it.
Right.
So that's one. And then a lot of our values are instrumental in how we operate as well. So as a leader, I always lean on the values to look and help me make decisions on what we need to do. And I urge our leadership team to do the same, because not all change is good, right? And if you're tackling a tough situation, the answers will be in your operating principles and your values. If you look deep enough, you will find the answers in there. And that's what I occasionally do, is I go in there and I stare at them and I go, how do I solve this problem? And I look at the values, and it's like, it's very clear. I have to do this. It may be tough to do, but I have to do this.
Right.
Maybe in the short term it's not going to serve us well, but in the long term, this is going to serve us much better than, it is now. So,
Right.
I hope that answers your
Yeah.
question.
No, definitely. And then finally, is there any advice or final thoughts you'd like to share with the listeners, especially those who might be aspiring entrepreneurs or leaders in the service industry?
I mean, if you don't have company values, take time to create them. If you don't have operating principles, take time to think about them and create them. And then if you do, just don't copy it from somebody else. I mean, you could always use somebody else's values to, give you some inspiration on how to do it,
Right.
and what to
Right.
do. But create your own, because, once you do, and it has to be something that you're willing to follow and live up to yourself, not only your team, but yourself. You have to lead by those examples and do those things on a daily basis. You don't have to be perfect, okay, because we're not looking for perfection, but you do have to lean on it, you do have to follow it, and it does have to be a guiding principle of your life. And if you do that, you do it really well, and you follow those values, your teams will. And using those values when you're actually hiring people, is another thing. I know, David, you gave me a story of somebody you hired and you shared the values with, and that person actually stepped up and said, hey, I can't live these values, and
Right.
and actually walked out, which really did us a favor and did them a favor, because they were really looking at it and going, this is not something I'm willing to,
Right.
live by. And I mean, I appreciate that so much.
Mhm.
It's like brutal
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah, it's so
You know?
rare that you find that.
I know. I mean, it's almost like I want to call the person and give them a hug.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's I was shocked at that. Like that has never happened before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, that's why we spend like the first half of the day on values and culture. All
Yeah.
right.
I
So,
mean, it makes a big difference for sure.
100%. Right. So, where can people find you?
So you could find me on Facebook, John Akhoian. I'm on LinkedIn under John Akhoian, and if you go into our website, rooterhero.com/books, we have a lot of books and resources. I've written 5 books. The latest one being a sort of a life story, autobiography of my parents, and like sort of our roots of where we came from, and kind of some of the experiences I've had. And also I have my cell phone number on our website, so it's rooterhero.com. On the home page you could find my cell phone number. My email address is john@rooterhero.com. Somebody else monitors my emails, but if it's really important, they will definitely get a hold of me.
Awesome. All right. So, it's come to the time in the show where I have to tell you what you already know what to do. If you could, subscribe, rate, share this show so we can make the show grow, and buy my books too. So, all right. We'll see you next time, and for episode 155 coming up next. So, all right. Have a great one.
By the way, David, my books are also on Amazon and Audible too.
Perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
so if you put my name, John Akhoian, you'll find it on either Audible or Amazon.
Perfect. And I'll put some links down in the show notes as well.
Awesome. Great.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.